Triumph has had a Tiger on the book since 1936, a real kind of long-standing, old-school model that they've had around forever. In the format that you and I know it, that modern 800cc triple pseudo adventure bike, it's been around since 2010, and it's actually one of the most popular bikes Triumph has done in the last couple of decades. 68,000 models sold since 2010. If you break your calculator out and push a few buttons, you'll see that that's pretty much one bike sold every hour, every single day of the week, every week of the year from 2010 until now. So getting the call to ride any new bike is always an exciting time, but with the Tiger 800 it was particularly interesting for us because this new 2018 model represents some of the most innovative technical changes that this bike has seen in years. With 6 bikes in the Tiger range, 4 XR and 2 XC, in condensed terms, that list of 200 odd changes, we can squish those down into the key things that you'll notice with the new bike straight away. The screen you can adjust with one hand, really easy to use. The dash is now TFT, much like new Street Triple, much like upcoming Speed Triple. Also housed within that TFT screen are the new rider modes, including now an off-road and an off-road pro mode. Mechanically, Triumph has reduced the crank inertia on the bike. Hopefully what that means is the motor should spin up a little bit easier than the previous model. They've also shortened first gear. One of the issues they had and feedback they took from owners of the previous generation Tiger was that first gear sometimes felt a little bit fluffy, maybe around town at slow speed, or indeed when you're off-road trying to do your thing. In shortening that gear and lightening up the motor, they've just made power a little bit easier to get at when you're doing slow speed stuff. They've also completely redesigned and reprofiled the exhaust, allowing the whole thing to breathe a little bit easier. So those changes to the motor equals 79 Newton meters of torque and 94 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. So one of the other small changes that Triumph has made that you won't recognize if you're just looking at the bike is they've moved the bars 10 millimeters closer to the rider. It makes slow speed maneuverability easier and it makes longer distances more comfortable. Other little tweaks to the new model that I liked were the aero deflectors around the sides of the screen, just helps channel wind flow or rain around you when you're riding, and also the addition of heated seat and grips for the rider and a heated seat option for the pillion. So the other changes between XR and XC start with the tyres. If you're going for the XC model, you can opt for Pirelli Scorpion Rally, like a full-on kind of squishy off-road tyre. So the XC also benefits from adjustable forks, which increases the travel at the front to 220 millimeters. And you also get 215 millimeters of travel at the rear. Brembo brakes, cruise control, a host of accessories. Triumph Tiger has got something for everyone. So we were really looking forward to ride the bike when we got the call from Triumph saying we would be shooting off to sunny Morocco. I say sunny because if you do what I do, picture these places, there's sunshine, big kind of long Sahara desert, it's really cool, there's camels everywhere. You need sun cream, you need shorts. What you don't need is a snow hat, what you don't need is a down jacket, which is probably what I should have taken. I can show you in the pieces to camera, I tried to shoot at the side of the road in Africa, me looking even more miserable than I normally look. I'm always smiling on the inside. When we reviewed the tapes when we got back, I just looked like I was having a terrible time. I wasn't. The bike was brilliant. I had a great time. Let's go and have a look and see how we got on. So typically when we go on a launch, we take the Bike World crew with us. It's usually at a circuit, there's usually a hire car. They can follow us from point to point, and when we're doing pictures or video with the manufacturer, we can also shoot our own content. Tiger 800 was different. We're out there in the Bondu, in the middle of nowhere in Morocco. That means places that hire cars can't reach, so that rules out the support crew that we normally have, the extra cameras and all of the other stuff, which is why there's a little bit more self-shot and onboard stuff that I picked up while I was out there. So day one was all about the road ride. Above the snow line in the Atlas Mountains, we had snow, we had slush, we had local kids chucking snowballs at us. Down in the plains, we had kind of fast, open, windswept, quite challenging riding conditions. It finished the last 2 hours of day one with a miserable, freezing cold, dark, sideways rain ride back to the Berber tented camp that we stayed in. What I'm hoping you will be able to pick up in the onboard footage from our ride out there was just how terrible the roads were in Morocco. The perfect place to test a bike like this. Gravel, pothole, gravel, pothole. My impression after the end of day one, you can see why so many of these have sold 68,000 in the 8 years or whatever it is. I can see why that's happening, but for me, the bike that I was drawn to was the XC with road tyres, with that 21-inch front wheel, that really cool marine paint that it's got on it. It's just a bike that I gravitated to every time I was given the option of which bike to ride. Now, day two, all about the off-road. So, choose your moment to go for gas. Now. So suddenly our bikes had sump guards, they had engine guards, all factory fit accessories from Triumph. They also had the Pirelli Scorpion Rally tyres, knobbly, proper, chunky off-road tyres. Our ride, when we got to the off-road section, was a loop of about 22 miles. A proper challenging and, for me, really engaging and exciting ride. I stuck my bike in the off-road mode. I didn't go for off-road pro, which turns everything off. You take your life in your own hands, no ABS at either end, no traction at the back. In just off-road mode, ABS is retained at the front, but you can skid the back end and you're allowed a 50% increase in rear wheel speed over the front. So what you suddenly find you're able to do is come out of corners, lean on the gas and just have these little instant hero moments where the bike is allowing an amount of slip, but as soon as you go too far, it pulls you back in line and saves you from smashing your collarbones to pieces. Over a couple of hours, what that did and what I realized that does is it makes a hero of the average. That's me off-road. If you're just adequate when it comes to riding off-road, this bike will flatter any talent that you've got and it will really drag you along and make you want to get stuck in. Get the feeling I'm probably barely scratching the surface of what this bike's capable of off-road. But what I can vouch for is that it's capable of making me feel confident. And that's a good thing. I did fall off, it happens. There's a difference, hopefully I've said it on screen, between dropping a bike and crashing a bike. Just to reiterate the point, if I drop something, what I'm saying is I just need to pick it up to use it again. If I crash something, I need to fix it with some tools before I can use it again. I dropped the Tiger at the top of a really steep climb. Thought I was in first gear, turns out I was in third gear. Went to just give a little cough of throttle as we crested this rise and the bike was 2 gears higher than I thought. It stalled, it fell over, threw me about 200 meters down a hill. It happens. Thankfully, by the clutch lever that pinged its way over the horizon, there wasn't a scratch on the bike. Those engine bars that look functional and rugged and manly and blah blah, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. No indicator damage, no scratches to that beautiful bodywork. A fully functioning bike that once 4 or 5 of us had picked it up and kind of straightened me up, jumped back on, crack on. Both models that I rode over the couple of days that I was out there had less than 300 miles on the clock, but that didn't stop the gearboxes from performing faultlessly. 6-speed transmission, really smooth. Got into how to use it straight away. There was no false neutrals. I didn't ever feel like I was running the bike out in a gear that it didn't want to be in. Perfectly matched to that motor and the power and torque that it makes. The torque curve, interestingly, is as flat as a rock. There's no spike, there are no sudden peaks in power or torque anywhere. You just lean on the throttle and you get nice seamless drive. It's not massive, it's not going to set your pants on fire, but you get really good drive from no revs all the way through to about 8,500, 9,000. I wouldn't bother going past 7, there's not much point. You can if you like. The dash turns from green to blue to orange to red and lets you know that you should change gear and all that kind of thing. It's quite interesting, but you're not really going to go any faster than if you just short shift through the box, get on the gas and let the torque do all the work. So all of the rider modes are accessed with the 5-way joystick on the left-hand side. Really easy to navigate screen. Low light, high light, wind, rain, all those things, doesn't matter. You can always see what gear you're in. It's up to you to be in the right one. How fast you're going, all of the important rider functions and information is tucked away in that screen. Also now on the new model, they've illuminated the switchgear. So when it's dark, as we experienced, everything has a little bit of an easy to find glow. It doesn't get in the way when you're riding, doesn't annoy you like other bikes. It's just there and a little bit easier for you to spot which button you're trying to push. So a couple of months ago, we rode a Multistrada 950 and a Tracer 900 back to back. We called them off-road bikes because they look like off-road bikes. The big difference between those two models and the Tigers that I rode is the Tiger is an actual off-road bike. You can genuinely plop off the side of the road and go and do things off-road that the other two can't. The Tiger 800 XR is actually only 9,100 pounds. I say only, it's still a huge amount of money, and it is a marginal increase over the 2017 model, but that software that you get, the updates that they've made, they more than justify the 500 quid increase that you can expect for that bike. It is possible to spend £12,500 on a new Tiger 800. For that, you'll get the XCA, the kind of all singing, all dancing, top spec, ready to ride anywhere version of this incredibly capable bike. On paper, the differences between new Tiger and old are huge. Triumph themselves have said over 200 changes, all that stuff. Now, I'll be honest and say that back to back, you'd be hard pushed if you were just riding the same road ride half an hour a day. Aside from those little things like the aero and the new software and little bits and pieces, dynamically, there isn't a huge difference between new and old bikes. But if you're looking for genuine off-road potential in your adventure bike, the difference between this new XC and the old one is massive. Just having those rider modes that you can set as soon as you're ready to go off-road proves and quantifies the value and the price increase between new model and old.